if we don't adopt first of all with AI, we are going to get left behind. That's like a no-brainer at this point. So, but if we learn to use it the right way, we can actually lead. We can actually be thought leaders in this domain, because right now, because of AI, it is a level playing field for everybody. Before, we used to have, say, senior designers, junior, right, where there is a hierarchy based on experience and whatnot. But now, since everybody has those AI tools, same amount of tools, everybody can prompt. Ideally तो सबका same output आना चाहिए. उतने ही level पे सबके अच्छे designs बनने ही चाहिए, but नहीं बनते. So just starting with fundamentals, whatever we show right now or whatever we'll demo in this session today, first the most fundamental here is mindset. So whatever we build upon that, it has to be a strong fundamental that we are building on, right? So if your mindset is already open, you're already open to ideas, okay, let's explore this with AI. Okay, it might fail, but we have to iterate upon it. Like design, iteration is like the first rule of design anyway. Nobody gets design right in one shot. So iteration. And now that starts with, so what I'm trying to say is the mindset where you're open to things, how it's changing slowly with respect to design, with respect to everything, to be honest. So like just a quick example, what do you guys think this is? Brain, right. What do you think this is? Yeah, contaminated brain, yes. Unhealthy brain, yes, I agree. Now tell me, what do you think an unhealthy brain of a designer looks like? Just like pop-up keywords that you can think of. Bad designs, yes, okay. Anything else? So this is our version of what unhealthy designer brain looks like. It's filled with very process oriented, that this is the process we have to follow, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Always follow that to get whatever outcomes we want. Focus on Figma, focus on screens or whatever tool you're using. Master that tool and then become the best in that tool. Figma मतलब भाई भगवान है अपना, हम उसको छोड़ेंगे नहीं कभी. Then user personas, and there's like basically all kinds of frameworks, and we have these so many what do we say, courses that give us like this is one framework, this is another framework, this is another framework. And we have seen not all of them work for us, because obviously we have different kinds of problems we are solving, different kind of products we are working on, different kind of services we are working on. So it has been catered to whatever we have to adopt according to that. So now what an healthy brain looks like right now or with AI is, this is our interpretation. It is not process oriented, but it's outcome oriented. And by outcome, I mean, how do I solve this problem faster? How do I solve the user's pain point faster? How do I ship whatever I want to ship 10x faster with a better quality? Right now we had limited tools or resources and everything, so we could have X amount of speed, right? But now those tools are enhancing our productivity. They're enhancing every जितने भी पहले प्रोसेस के स्टेप्स थे, हर एक स्टेप में अभी वो enhance कर रहा है. तो आइडियली तुम्हारा ओवरऑल पूरा टाइमलाइन क्रंच हो रहा है. एंड हाँ, सुनने में बहुत अच्छा लगता है. We'll obviously go into the details of what happens into that and how we are actually doing it. बस बोलने के लिए नहीं है कि 10x हमारा प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ रहा है या उससे टाइमलाइन क्रंच हो रहा है. So we'll actually show how are we utilizing that, how are we becoming more, हमारा mindset कैसे change हो रहा है, आउटकम फोकस क्यों है, हम फुल स्टैक डेवलपमेंट या नॉट डेवलपमेंट पर से बट माइंडसेट में क्यों जा रहे हैं. एंड बाय फुल स्टैक आई मीन, पहले बहुत ऐसा होता था रोल्स, राइट, डिफाइंड रोल्स, पीएम हमें पीआरडी देगा और सम काइंड ऑफ डॉक्यूमेंट विच विल देन पुट इनटू विल आइडिएट ऑन दैट ये पॉसिबल सॉल्यूशंस है जो भी किसी भी चीज़ पे काम कर रहे हो तुम लोग. एंड देन फाइनली यू गो इनटू लो फिट्स, देन हाई फिट्स, एंड देन प्रोटोटाइप, एंड देन फाइनली हैंड ऑफ टू डेवलपर्स. अभी ये सारी चीज़ें आइडियली एट दिस पॉइंट वी हैव ट्राइड दिस एंड हम खुद कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज Abhi, since this is a product company, we have a lot of product context. We already know what we're working on. So PM said, so whatever we get, we can immediately extract maximum value out of it using the right tools, using the right set of workflows, whatever we have designed or what works for us, without losing quality. And in fact, because of that, now we're able to ship more things in a less amount of time. So that is obviously our main goal, right? Users का finally problem solve होना चाहिए. जितना जल्दी हो सके उतना तो अच्छा ही है. और बेटर क्वालिटी है तो भाई उसके मतलब दैट्स लाइक गोल्डन, राइट. सो जस्ट अ क्विक पोल, हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू गाइज आर, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ टूल्स आर यू गाइज यूजिंग राइट नाउ, एंड बाय दैट आई मीन एआई टूल्स स्पेसिफिकली. कर्सर, ओके. Lovable, ChatGPT, Claude, Figma. Sorry, what did you say? Make. Figma make. Yeah. Somebody said something here. N10. Okay. Okay. Cool. So this was just to gauge like how many of you are using, because obviously common answers तो रहते ही है, ChatGPT है वगैरह वगैरह है, but we've also seen वो कितने पावरफुल टूल्स है, बट लोग उसको उसका पावर को यूटिलाइज नहीं कर रहे हैं. लाइक सबसे बहुत ईजी चीज़ है यूएक्स कॉपी के लिए यूज़ कर देंगे. अरे ठीक है वो तो कर ही लेगा, वो तो उसी के लिए तो बेस लेवल है उसके लिए, वो उससे ज़्यादा हना कॉम्प्लिकेटेड चीज़ों के लिए बना है. सो या now I'll just hand it over to our designers. Today we have Prathamesh and Simresh who will be giving you demos. So starting with Prathamesh.
Hi, good morning guys, I'm Prathamesh, and what today we'll be talking about is majorly three projects. So if you can see, it is based on a lot of different parameters, and basically why we chose to show these three projects is now there is no such a way that we have to emphasize things. The tech is so new that we don't know what to follow, which workflow to follow. So based on a lot of different parameters such as the complexity of the project, do we need to follow design system or not? How complex the layout is, the interactions are. Based on that, we choose what workflow to follow. So we'll walk you through the tools. The tools might be similar, but based on the complexity, based on the outcome that we want, we choose the workflow. So for example, I'll start with the first. It is like a easy, like a designer is able to ship front end or the entire app on its own, because the level of complexity of the design in terms of the interactions, in terms of the design system consistency is not that much, and even the developer involvement is not that high, because complexity of tech is also not superior. The next one is say we'll be presenting one of our features where the tech is so difficult that we need developers help, right? So how are we able to collaborate, and how are we changing the outcome where we are not shipping just Figma screens but more than that. And the next one is how we are doing advanced prototyping at FlytBase, not with Figma but more than that. So I'll start with the first one. Let me just connect my PC so that I can start with the demo. Okay, so yes, let's just find this dashboard. And if you see, it is a fairly complicated product with a lot of features, right? But now we wanted something which is very small, like a very small feature, and we know the purpose of the feature is very small. Like if we use that, the customer will be very satisfied, and we don't need to involve a lot of stakeholders like developers, PM in that. So what we do is basically, if we want to launch something smaller, we just redirect. So if I click on report, we will redirect the user to a new dashboard. Now here it does not follow the consistency of design system in terms of interactions, in terms of the color usage or even the padding spacing that we are worried about, right? It's not accurate, but it solves the purpose and it is closer. It people can watch and say it is FlytBase product. So that is what we tried. So I will tell you the product. So basically the job of this product is to just create reports for the users. Fairly simple, but what we were able to do is we were able to give the front end as designers, not just Figma screens. I never touched Figma in the entire process. I will walk you through the process and how I is this. So I'll just walk you through the dashboard. It's fairly simple. User selects a date, selects a date range, and based on that, from our existing dashboard, we fetch out flights, and users are able to customize the report and download this sort of a report where they see their incidents and what is going on in the flight and a lot of different parameters. A fairly simple feature. I will tell you how I was able to reach a point where I was able to ship the front end of this dashboard. So I just wanted to know how much aware are you guys about projects in ChatGPT or Claude? Can you just raise your hand if you are aware about, so that I can. Okay, a lot of people know, so I won't go into much detail, but on a high level I'll explain what is it. So basically we have chats, right? So basically chats refers to the context that we fed initially and plus the global knowledge. Projects gives us the ability to feed in our context, so that with every new chat it follows that context. So okay, zoom. No more. Okay. So basically, how I think about projects is those are our decision makers, right? Think of it as a brain. Now, what are the parameters that our brain needs to think about to make a decision? So, as a designer, we need to think about users, different stakeholders. Is it technically feasible or not? If it is very domain specific, we need to think about those parameters. So basically, I try to get context of it in a very good manner and fit it in the project knowledge. So if you see, I have DJI drone and dock specifications. Now, obviously, on internet, it will every time try to go and see what is the battery of the drone, how much is the capacity of the flying capacity and stuff. But now I have made it very simple. I have made very simple about user personas, the features, and whatever things are required. And this is just specifically for that feature. So every time I start a new feature, I create a project, and like this is the go-to thing for us because without projects we never start a feature or project. And I will basically walk you through how do we use projects and start a chat, right? So we are all aware about design diamond or this images, right? It is very simple, but right now those things are changing, and we need to follow a similar process in terms of chatting with LLMs and coming up with PRDs or coming up with feature scopes. So so I will on a high level explain you what is the thinking model of using those LLMs, and once we show more demos, right, you'll understand how are we dividing the scope, how are we then diving down into specific features and then building the products. So this is just a thinking model on how I use projects and then chats to come up with the final scope of it is in a text format, not a front end or UI, but that actually carries a lot of weight. So basically what we do is we prompt like I want to create such a dashboard, right? Now like what Double Diamond suggests is go wide. I try to do a similar thing in the start where I try to go wide. The project has all the knowledge that is required, right? Now I give it to the LLM. So basically I use Claude. You can choose Grok or ChatGPT, any of your choice. So based on that, it gives a certain output, a huge text output with a lot of ideas and features. Now we need to ground it so that it is applicable to our use case. It is applicable to what the user wants, right? And then we narrow it down. So how to do it? Basically, the large output that we get is valuable, and if we just iterate on a single thing, all the other context is missed. So what I try to do is, as soon as I get the wide output, I try to divide it in phases or some chunks, so that now I can pick one thing, I can brainstorm it, and then I can leave it, I can document and keep it aside, and I then pick up the next thing, brainstorm on it, document it and keep it aside, so that the context is not lost, and I have all the required things that are necessary. So basically, if I get the output based on the complexity, based on how big of a thing I'm working on, I divide it into different features. I divide it into different dashboards. This is for example, if it's very small, you can divide it into specific layouts. I will show examples on the actual dashboard. That time, I think you will better understand. And further that, if it is large, I even break it down even into uh, finer chunks, and then brainstorm it on more. Now what we have to do is, for every chunk, we have to ask the LLM to think from all the parameters that as a designer we need to think, like all the UX details, all the feature list, all the interactions, and get all the detailed scope, even if your feature has a lot of technical abilities and capabilities to think about, right? So try to nudge the LLM to think on those directions and you get the output. So similarly, assume that for reports I've made this alert category system and I try to do that. And so basically all the chunks combined, you get the dashboard. So basically you brainstorm, and then all those documents will act as the entire product for you. Now what to do with that? So basically, as soon as I open the project, I start a chat that I want to make such product. And so I will walk you through one of the chats for the specific product reporting dashboard, and you'll understand how I use it and how I feed customer data to get to the final outcome, which is very rounded and actually useful. Because usually AI will throw things on us which are not that useful, or it must be fancy but not that helpful for the users. More zoom. Are you guys able to see the? So fairly simple. You can just read it through. Like I just explain it. I just said that I want to make this feature. Already I have a lot of context in the project knowledge, so I don't need to nudge and give all the context at once. And over time, like I tried to fit more context so that the workflow is faster. Like this is the user flow. This is how the users are using the dashboard currently, and this is what I want to make, and more.
I saw you ask some questions also to it. What specific?
Yeah. So basically, initially I told LLM ask whatever questions you have, so that I don't want to bound the LLM into my thought process. Whatever questions the LLM wants to ask me in terms of for the project to get done, please ask right now so that we can think on the direction. We don't want to miss the edge cases or the error cases that later will cause us to make a lot of changes. So fairly decent chat, and basically here only I try to feed all the context, such as now I have the user flow in place. This is how the visual diagram should work and stuff. And then I fed the customer reports that these are the parameters, these are the types of report user creates, and the dashboard should be unified with the tech, with the user experience, that users are able to create any kind of reports they want. And a lot of chat, and after this is done, right, after the chunking thing is done, you have brainstormed a lot of features. Now I put a prompt which is very simple, which says are you able to read this? So basically, I am telling it to act as a prompt generator for Lovable or Bold. Those are prototyping tools. I think everybody's aware about that. Firstly, I make a prototype, basic prototype, so that I understand the user flow. Now the UI is pretty shit here, but this is just for my understanding of how the user flow will work. I am able to map out the edge cases. Oh, this is missing. This is not missing. This feature should be a good add-on. And after that, when I have to build the final thing, right, that time I control it very nicely with this prompt. Even in this prompt, what I am doing is I am telling it to act as a prompt generator and telling it to divide the entire scope of the dashboard into phases or chunks, and for those chunks give me prompts, so that in a sequence it is able to give me prompts like prompt 1.1. So 1 is the phase 1, like the chunk 1, and for that 1.1 is the first prompt. And similarly, now the next job is fairly simple. I just go and feed all the prompts in Lovable so that I get the output. So for that, if you see, it is following our design system. Now, like Lovable does not provide the ability like Figma make to import design system, but Lovable, we found out that is better than any other tool in terms of making decisions. So assume if I tell to make a pop-up to all the tools, I think Lovable will make the best in terms of the UX, in terms of the UI. So that is why we are sticking to it, and we are making sure that Lovable follows our design system rather than we are using some other tool which is not good in UI or UX. So this is the prompt that I fed like initially, and it has all our design system context. In the last, we will explain you how we came up with this prompt. Like it has all the button height, weight, even color. Now the LLM perfectly knows how much button to use, how much card height should be, what are the spacing, sizing that you are using. Everything is in one prompt. After that, I'm just talking about the dashboard. If you see, this is the output. After the second, this is just design system, and I'm telling it to set up the tech stack and stuff. We got it from the developers that this is the tech stack we have to use, and with the help of developers, we were able to create this prompt. Like, see, will explain how collaboratively we made this prompt, so that even the tech is FlytBase standard. So fairly used prompt. Like after that, it gave some output, and after this prompt, this was the output. Like I'm on the second thread only, and this was the output where the design system is followed and the colors and stuff is matching the FlytBase dashboard. And now the job was very simple. I brainstormed it, I fed all the prompts, I made some changes.
How did you use knowledge base to upload all the first prompt?
We usually used to use knowledge base V0, even in V0, even in Lovable. So basically, we understood that it is not able to follow the knowledge base always, and the problem was if in the first prompt it is able to get the primary color and all the colors sorted right, in the next chat it does not have to refer to the project knowledge always. Means every time it tries to refer to the project knowledge, it hallucinates more. Rather than now, it has a base. It has created the component library, because in the first prompt I am saying to create the component library with our design system. Now, whatever next features or small components we are making, it will make with that library rather than always referring to the project knowledge. And we found out that it is not a very good way that it refers to the project knowledge and follows the design system. So we are going with this approach, but we have tried and tested. that part. So brainstormed it and created dashboard, and my deliverable to developer was just this GitHub repo, where from that, like Saurabh is also here, he took the front end and he built the back end, and the app was live. It looks simple, but even that from tech standpoint, it is fairly complicated how reports are generated, how we are fetching data from the existing dashboard. So, like as designer, I am not capable of doing those things, so we need developers help. But I was able to reach this point where I don't need to touch Figma and the process is way faster. Obviously, we had a lot of fails and learnings in this project, but that's for later stages. And similarly, I built another dashboard, which I made end to end. If you guys are aware about Google Drive, I just made a Google Drive. So basically, one of our customer wanted a secure system where they can upload their documents. Documents can be of any sort. So this is the project. I made it in like 4-5 days, and everything, including the front end, back end, and even other things were made by me. I took help from a developer for a day to help me with the authentication, Google SSO, and how securely the entire thing works, because that was the purpose of the dashboard. Other than that, I was able to build this using just two tools, Lovable and Replit. I will walk you through how, if you guys are aware about Replit or not, but I will walk you through on a high level how Replit works.
Why both Lovable and Replit? Why did you use both of them?
So I will walk you through. So I will just explain the dashboard. It is fairly simple. It is just Google Drive. If you see the UI is also just a dark theme Google Drive with some add-on features. But the main challenge was to implement this, like getting it executed. So good question, like why did I use Lovable and Replit?
Because both do the same thing.
So I'll tell you, Lovable is good with front end. Replit provides backend. Lovable does not provide backend. It provides integration with Supabase, but it is just for database. Like it does not write the backend code so that the API calls are made. So you can make a fairly basic app in Lovable, like to do, where you need to store all the data. Where you can make a HR portal where if user logins, you get the data of the user. That you can make in Lovable, but something like this, it it has to have a backend where the API calls are made to the S3 bucket where all the data is stored. If I delete, then it should be deleted from the S3 bucket. So all those functionality, even authentication functionality, Lovable, it is tough to make in Lovable. It is not possible only to make the backend. You can just make the front end and connect it with Supabase for the database. So I chose Lovable for the front end, and as I told you, usually I used to follow that Claude workflow where in Claude I used to brainstorm and get the prompts, I feed it into Lovable, and then we get the prototype or the front end based on the complexity of the project. But here, what I did was, I just had a chat with ChatGPT, simple. I got a PRD, fairly basic, and in Lovable only I brainstormed and got that done, because it was, everybody knows what Google Drive is, even Lovable knows. So it was not that complex that I had to brainstorm on each and every part. So once this was done, I made the front end here. If you see, this was how the dashboard used to look. The padding spacing was off, but the basic functionality, even the colors and stuff, I sorted out in Lovable. This is a different product range, that is why the color is purple and not blue. It is following the design system, but a different design system. So what I did is, after this was done, I just synced it with GitHub. Now again, the GitHub repo is there, and Replit provides the ability to import GitHub files. So from that, I moved on to Replit, where now Replit took care of the backend, front end. So I will walk you through the interface of Replit, so that if you want to build such a small app, it is complex in terms of tech, in terms of the security of the bugs it raises. But I think with practice, and if you have a developer to help you, you will be able to take it to production. So this is a dashboard where it is fairly simple. You see the preview, you see the chat interface similar to Lovable. But the main USP of Replit is it provides database. Now it has development database and production database. Like you can test out how the API calls are made. You can test out how schemas are made and stuff. And basically you get the understanding of what will be stored, what are the things that will require storage, all the metadata of the file, like what is the type of the file, how much capacity of the file is, and a lot of stuff. All these things are stored in database. If I show you one database, right, this is how it looks like: collection items, if users are logged in, if I have given the ability to tag the file, so it also stores tag. So Replit makes it super easy for like people who are not tech friendly to do these things, and along with that, it provides ability to store these things where if you're connecting with some third-party integration and you need to securely connect it, it can do that as well. You can deploy it on different domains as well as uh, two sort of deployments, which is dev environment and production environment, so that you can test out securely, and it also provides auth. So basically, if you say this is the list where I get to know who has logged in and stuff, and who needs the access of the dashboard and not. So if you see the configure section, right, you can see these are the providers of SSO. It looks simple that you just click and the agent creates it, but it is much more than that. But in the process, you will get to learn how developers think and how complicated it is to implement all the features that are required. So after this, it was done and it was into production, where now users can use it, and it did not take a lot of time. And in this as well, I did not touch Figma. The problem is obviously the padding spacing is not consistent. The layouts are not that complex in terms of how we want it. In the next project, you will understand how complicated layouts we deal with. Like, means if you see FlytBase dashboard, it is fairly complicated in terms of the interactions, in terms of the designs. Like even LLMs don't have the data of such layouts. So how do we come to that? But this was a demo for fairly simple apps where as a designer you can take it to a better stage than Figma screens. It can be a production ready app based on the complexity, or at least front end based on the complexity. So I think that's it from my side. So we will take over on a mid-level complex project where he will show Figma MCP and how to collaborate with devs and how the hands-off are changing.
Okay, so one question. So well, I appreciate what you have done. So now taking, like you are saying, you have completely done it on using AIs and different LLMs and all these things. You have not touched Figma or something. So how much time did you take from day zero to reaching this?
End to end. So for that front end thing, it took me almost a week, more than a week, because after the backend changes as well, I had to go and do some front end changes because the LLM hallucinates, AI changes the front end as well.
Yeah. So let's stick to the non-tech part of it, or only the UX UI part of it.
It was a week.
A week. So probably if in Figma some UI deploy some UX or UI designer to us, for this screen, single screen, I think he can make it in a day.
Yes.
I guess
This took less time. This entire
everything
thing,
like with multiple screens interaction, or you can say one flow of, let's say we are making a feature of adding a document. So my initial question is that this is good, but if we use Figma also, the Figma gives us more design creativity to do, as you also mentioned that for Lovable everything you have to make a prompt on it. So how friendly is Lovable on making the design creativity? Because see, if I am a PM and I have two designers with me, so they have their own creative instinct to make some apps, because this is generic you are making with one, but if I have to deliver different products at different types, so on basis of that, how much time difference, like is it really worth to, because now for this you are well trained guy, so I have to train my team again for a month or week to deliver this type of perfect scale data. So how much, like on time basis and effort basis, how easy is this to do?
okay, I'll answer step by step. Like first of all, you need design creativity in projects where it is required to show design creativity. Now the apps that I'm showing, it was not that complex in terms of design as well. Like I trust Lovable to take good design decisions. Now the projects that we'll be showing, right, those are that complex that you need to be in Figma, and we'll show how we have reduced the time in Figma as well. Now this entire app took 4 to 5 days. Now traditionally I would have taken like 3-4 days at least to do a good handoff, right? Like dev ready handoff, and after that developer would have built it the way they have built it. But now it is end to end. Obviously I compromised on a few things. Let's assume that I compromised on a few things, but it's solving the purpose and it delivers the outcome. I get the money. I'm happy. After the two projects, I think it will answer your question better, where he shows Figma.
Any other questions guys before we move on to next process?
So based on responsibility, can you tell me if it was responsive like mobile first solutions and all this?
So usually, whenever these tools design something, right, they try to make it mobile responsive, but the dashboards are like purely web focused. So we did not care about if it is mobile responsive or not. If you are making a website, right, that needs to be mobile responsive. But these apps usually don't people open it in phone and it is not usable. So we did not worry about that.
You know, if we want to make a responsive site or something using AI, then
We can use Lovable, like we have demos for that as well. Not today, but you can check out our YouTube.
Yeah, even
Fairly possible. It's basically not a complicated process. Most of the LLMs are trained to design both for web and mobile. So we have AI FlytBase website, which I designed with Lovable. I nowhere mentioned that I wanted to be responsive, but if you open it on your phone right now, it is responsive. Because by default, they know that some apps have to be responsive, unless you specifically say कि ठीक है ये web के लिए बनाया है सिर्फ mobile के लिए. By default, all of the tools will be responsive.
yeah, responsiveness will be the case. And if you want to just build an app like Bolt, we have a Bolt, and it is very easy to fairly build a app like a mobile specific app as well. Like Lovable doesn't very specifically go into that app mode, so it is like more like so responsive than this side. So this Lovable might be more useful in websites and stuff like that, web app and stuff. I think Bolt is fairly very easy to get into the application, mobile application side, setting everything up and all.
Any other questions, mate? I know it's a lot to process because the first project was fully AI, no Figma, nothing. So it's okay. It takes time to process, that's all right. And yes, like he said, they were fairly simpler projects. So that's why we are going step by step. By simpler, we are just showing you by even with simple projects, you can entirely use AI. Now once we go into complicated, how we have to do a mixture of Figma plus AI and whatnot. So yeah, for this first part, anybody has questions, it's okay.
Yeah.
Feel free to ask.
You guys can go ahead and ask any questions. Yes.
Lovable itself has Superbase integration, right?
Yeah.
But then you used Replics database, so is it much better and seamlessly integrated?
So basically we use Lovable and Superbase for the database, right? Lovable we make the front end, and for the data we use Superbase. So Replit has its own, and plus it writes the backend code as well. Like, so to explain it very shortly, like if you are using, if it has to make API calls, right? With some like whenever I do some front end changes. So for that it writes a backend code. Lovable does not provide that ability. It will do that and it will connect with the Superbase, like where you can store your data and do other things. But it is not like a good comparison because those are not provided.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
So I work with Prathamesh on the first dashboard. You asked the question like in Figma you would have made it in like 1-2 days and this thing is
What I would like,
Hmm.
just a general.
yeah. I tell you where the here ROI is. The ROI is in the components that you gave me as a developer. Originally what would happen is you would give me Figma. I will have to develop the small components and then make it into like a big project. But here what I get a ready-made component and I just have to place it and just feed in the data from the backend. So that's where the ROI is. And also why it's taken so much time, like if you are assuming like 4-5 days, is because I think it was like his first project or something, but I'm sure if it does it right now, he would do it really fast because
No, I guess there are tools from Figma also you can convert directly to component library and all.
yeah, so that's what she will be telling us now. But I'm telling you where the real ROI comes in for us as developers.
No, I completely respect and agree with the developer's thing. But if the Figma is also providing the same thing, so that the thing is the same way.
Yeah, I get it.
Any other questions, guys?
So, any paid license was used for this or only it was done for free credits?
Everything
All
is
paid.
like,
Yeah,
it
all
is
paid.
Fairly expensive, all the tools that we use.
And how
like,
much credits you are consuming for to build this kind of app?
Okay, we don't actually calculate that.
means we don't calculate.
We get the freedom for
Means the subscriptions are fairly equal. Like the Claude uses $20 subscription, even Lovable you can get $20-$50 subscription, and
So it
Replit
was
is
run within a subscription limit, not above the subscription limit.
No.
Everything good. Means it Claude what it does is it does not give the ability to chat after a certain point. You wait for
when we did when we did start designing in Lovable or something, it was taking so much credits because we just do very half-assed prompts. Like we just type 1-2 lines and then we make an entire edit. But now we go with the systematic prompt approaches. It doesn't make that many errors, and we don't have to keep iterating it. So as we progressed, we kind of found out the way to make it, make less credits.
How much do you have to iterate the prompt? That is the most
Yeah, so the thing is, when you actually build those prompts in Claude or ChatGPT, anything, you already get those prompts listed down. You have to actually read through the prompts and try to understand if it already has everything that it needs. So if it misses something, then you have to specifically mention that this phase that you have probably haven't covered. So can you just redo this prompt? Then it'll touch upon that prompt. So whether it be prompt 5 or prompt 6 that failed, then you tell it to reiterate, and then once it builds one that you're satisfied with, then you can go ahead to Lovable or something like that. So that is more cost effective as well.
Like Prathamesh mentioned, right, how he was doing project knowledge of Claude with ChatGPT like that. Just imagine the same project knowledge our brains have, right? For with respect to design, with respect to any project or product we are working on. So abhi first go mein, to give all of that knowledge to the LLM, it takes time, obviously. Because इतने महीनों का इतने सालों का अपने पास context है. So that's where the magic lies in तुम कितना अच्छे से context दे पाते हो उसको. So once you can give, so maximum of our time goes in Claude only, by the way, because we are giving so much context. We are iterating there. We have not even touched UI yet. We are just iterating there कि ये cases है, ये scenarios हैं, ऐसे interactions हैं. एकदम detail में जितना हो सकता है map out करते हैं. So that might even take one whole day because we are just giving as much product context as we can. And especially existing project में तुम्हें कुछ करना है, right? अभी existing product हमारा fairly बहुत ज़्यादा complicated है because we deal with live data from drones and everything, and we have safety issues and everything. So हमने इतने documents बनाए हैं just to give product context. One is like about product, one is about features, one is say design system का एक है, one is हम design guidelines क्या follow करते हैं and all of that. So the magic lies in how much excellent we can give context to the LLM क्योंकि तुम जितना उसको अपना project knowledge देके वो इतना अच्छा outcome देगा. And it's okay, first time पे सबको time लगता है because ठीक है तुम भी तुम्हारा human brain है, तुम भूल जाते हो कुछ 10 चीजें, it's fine. But as you give, the first cycle might be a lot more iterative. धीरे-धीरे that iterations reduce because now the LLM also has तुम्हें जितना context है उतना fair level पे match कर रहा है. एक project में शायद तुमने 10 चीजें छूट गई, next project में 5 चीजें छूट गई, next project में 3 चीजें छूट गई. So that's where the main thing is context giving, and then just brainstorming with it, like how I brainstorm with Signesh in person, now I brainstorm with Claude. मैं ये चीज़ सोचा गया, ये चीज़ सोचा गया. So
let's move on to this project. Okay, so I'll tell you why we kind of went with this approach for this specific product. So this is actually the production application, the M1 part of it, and you could literally see that it is functional and everything. It is actually live to our customers. So this is the stuff that we built, and to build this there is a lot of complexity involved. How the map interaction should work, how it should scale, what actions does this specific element has, if I hide it, how does it hide on the map, how does it show, like there are so many other states as well. From even the creation flow is like even more complex because it's how the users actually plan a drone mission. So they kind of need to set a lot of parameters for it. It might not be very comprehensible right now, but there is a lot of complexity involved in this project, and because of this we can't just give it to Lovable, or even if we did try to give it to Lovable, obviously it fails in a lot of cases because it can't understand that much state management. Even if we did convey it, it might miss out a lot of cases. We can't actually get the end of it because there is also a lot of APIs involved, a lot of data involved. So it is not like it is direct. Okay. So it is not like it is. How do you say, like it doesn't, everything doesn't go well together. So in this case we were trying to find a way to we also needed some good pixel perfect design as well. So this needs to be production grade enterprise software. The design system needs to be followed. The components that we are going to be building, it needs to be reused in other sub products that we are going to be using. So because it involves all these cases, we also want the user to actually have a delightful user experience. So in all these cases we went with this approach, and this approach has a lot of documentations involved. We had to create a lot of documentation so that the development team can use that with their AI, their LLMs to kind of do the code even better. The testers could also use the same documentations for testing purposes. So this will be like from the stakeholders to the testers, it will be useful, these documents that we have created. So we give the Figma design, we give all these documentation, we also give some simulators on how certain interactions should actually work. So we have like a map interaction simulator. So as you could see here, there is a lot of map interactions involved, and this is just the M1, but there is more to it, like how the keyboard interaction should work, like when user presses this key, what should happen, and there are a lot of keys such as like that. And because it involves a lot of complex states, we also needed to kind of ideate and then go to a certain way. So we built multiple simulators and then we were testing it ourselves. So it was like a way faster thing than directly giving one set to the user and then coming back to it again and again, and then like it'll take a lot of time, right? If you want to get the user feedback and then change it accordingly. But now we itself do everything that we can, and then we'll test it out with our UA guys, and then that was the purpose of the simulators and stuff. And that will also help the testers and anyone who is interacting with it know which is the final flow, and it'll be very grounded. It is like the source of truth to how the interaction should actually work in the production app. So this was the entire handoff message. So it had the Figma file, it had all the documentations that we had given specifically for the interaction states, the rules and guidelines that the user will actually see on some error cases. And okay, yeah, and
these documents are in Slack, so it feeds in directly from Slack.
yeah, so you just have to click on this link and then it will open that documentation for them. So this all these documentations were built in Claude itself. I will tell at the end how we actually build the documentation after we ideated everything. So yeah, so that's the flow. I will jump into the project. So Prathamesh would have already explained a bit the projects and everyone would already know about it. So this project already has a lot of context about the FlytBase, its existing features, how the missions basically work, and how our previous existing mission planner kind of worked. So that was our FB1, which was like our previous version, which the users were using, and we were trying to find out what we could improve from there, how the experience could be improved better and all that. We also fed that as data. Now some of these data that you see here, these were generated with another amazing thing that we use for this. I will just show you guys how we generated that content. So we also need some comparator analysis, some data that we don't normally get everywhere else, right? Like it is not just everyone will give that document and then we will do it. So in these comparative analysis cases, even their normal documentations did not have all these details. So we kind of needed to hands-on go into the software, see what happens in each of the keys that they touch upon, how the interactions work and everything. And if you could read this one, we just say that this is a feature that we're going to work on, and we are going to study the comparator analysis of that certain software. And now we are going to brainstorm on that. And so first, the documentation and everything is fed to it. So these are the documentation about that particular software. And in this case, as we go through, what we basically do is, it's not just the documentation that it has context of, we give it specific video recordings of how we use that particular software, how the user flow actually is in that particular software. So if you could, okay, I don't know if the audio is there, but basically we interact with that particular software and show the LLM that this is what it is capable of and this is the kind of user flow that it is going through. And as we talk to it, this is the best way. So this is like a very big hack because Gemini allows 1 million token this one. So it is actually very beneficial for video inputs. So this is where you can use this as a hack itself. So if you have some very large context that you need to feed, you don't need to type in, you don't need to verbally say it and then upload it. You could just upload an entire video of how you interact with it, or even if it is your product, right? You could use that as a hack to convey the LLM about your product itself, like the entire flow, like whether we could improve that for anything else, you could also say it in that manner. So this is, so as we kept on, we just kept adding more and more flows. It was not in proper order. we just added and more videos of how this particular interaction works, and we kept explaining how this interaction works in this manner, and it was keeping record of everything. And we asked it to list down whatever it finds, and now it lists down everything, and you kind of have to validate that now. So if you find something wrong, then you could again tell it to that LLM, okay, so this is the case. So now we have, I think you have all this one we have extracted, but the problem is it doesn't have a proper flow. It just, we did it all like, okay, we missed this flow, let me record a video and then put it. So now it just has a lot of different interactions, but it doesn't have the proper flow, like from the start to the end. So we kind of wanted it to give us the streamlined flow. So now all you do is, since it already has that context, you just tell it to put it in a flow and then give it as this one. So now it breaks it down into everything, like how the accessing the library works, how this is basically entirely of their software, right? So now this is how the user flow is, but this is not something that we want in our platform, because as we describe it, this is not the best UX possible. So we were kind of trying to make even better UX from this standards. So we were trying to say, like, just extract the features from this specific things which are a must have, because customers already have this feature in a different software. So obviously we kind of need to at least have these features. So these are baseline features, and first ground those features. So we need to have it as a must have thing. So now once we set on that, then it gives us a list of these are the this one that you must need to have and all that. Yeah. And then we ask it, like, if the design, what can be actually done in the design in a sense that it could be improved, the experience could be improved. So as it gives a document, we then finally arrive at a specific, this one where we get the entire document from Gemini itself of all the things that we had talked about and discussed about in the video and in the chat. And once that is done, that is where we actually bring it into this chat. So any specific context, there is multiple this one for it. So this is their software basically, and how the flow works and how they have used the keyboard shortcuts for the map interactions, and what features do they specifically have that we previously did not have, and what we could improve on and stuff like that. So now it has the entire context. So this is how you can also build the context if you lack context. And if you have a way to kind of do it, you could use Gemini's video recording in this manner. Like, you could stream with it, or you could even do that, and it has a lot of token context that none other LLM or other apps give you. So that is a really good hack that you guys could use. And in this sense, since it now has all this context, we started building. So I'm brainstorming here on the normal features. This is without the specific context. I'm just going through what should actually be in a mission planning app for a drone autonomy software. Now as I go through, then I have to direct it in a certain way. So this is where the designers come in a really good manner. Like, so you guys would expect, like, if we ask it a certain PID or something, it will give it to us. But will it actually help us? How will it actually help the users? What is actually important in that flow? What flow should the user actually take? Like, it will suggest a lot of things, but you guys are the ones who should actually ground it. That is where the designers come into play. So whenever something happens, so now in this case, it gave me some ideas, and I said, okay, let's make these 5 points the essential features, and let's have the other 4 as like maybe good to have or something else. Like, we could look into it later. So that is not a must to have. So once that is done, we keep iterating. Then I say, like, what are the features that we specifically need in this manner to get all this features, and according to that, then since we also already have the idea of the previous mission plan, it also has the data. Now it knows that I only need to make 2 or 3 pages, and it tells me these are the 2-3 pages that we need to make, and then I further ask it, okay, so now this is another hack. So ASCII layouts is wireframes is basically something you could use for brainstorming or just ideation creation, because directly it should not go into artifact creation. So if it goes into artifact creation, it is going to take a lot of tokens, and it will also exhaust the chat. So when you specifically don't have an exact direction where the project is heading to, or you are just in the brainstorming ideation phase, you guys should use this, because you guys as a designer, you could also visualize what exactly the LLM is visualizing in its manner. So now you could say, okay, this is not good, maybe something else. Then you could again see what it does, and you could go on a repetitive loop and then fine tune one thing here. So this is a really good hack for anyone. So don't get into prototypes or artifacts, just go into these ASCII layouts and then figure out what you actually need. And as you keep brainstorm, and then I ask it specific flows that it tries to create, and then it just gives me this one. And yeah, so previously whatever chatting you guys probably already do most of these. Yeah, the user flows that are necessary and stuff like that. And this is the brainstorming phase. And now once we are done this, and I
You iterate on the ASCII invited.
yeah,
What is the prompt that you give?
for iteration.
Or any changes that you want for certain.
So imagine like you are talking to your designer teammate, right? So if I have to talk to Siri or Prathamesh and they have shown me some low fit, and I will question it. ये consider किया क्या, या what happens when I click on this, or how is the overall layout? It's same way you ask that. So when it gives you, you think this is where your critical thinking comes in. भाई तूने ये consider नहीं किया, इधर ये नहीं है, या ये कैसे चलेगा, ये इस पेज में हमने जो ये बोला था वो है नहीं.
So yeah, especially if you already have something in mind of your own, like this is some layout that might already work, because obviously when you think about the user experience in the consistency manner, a lot of other platforms also follow some similar patterns, and you have to kind of also stick to that pattern so the user easily gets to the software. So since I'm already having some certain things in mind, I also direct it in a way that okay, we could think about these things, so it will only focus on those things. So
Can I maybe give a screenshot of something that I saw somewhere and ask it to translate into ASCII?
Yeah, you can do that.
yeah, the ASCII is pretty straightforward, and you could easily just say that this section might not make sense for us. Let's remove that section, or you could just say like this many points are not necessary. The thing is, I'm not focusing on the data that the ASCII is giving me. I'm just focusing on the layout and everything that it has given me in this sense. So what I actually then did was I gave some base level layouts for my developer, because we were parallelly working, so they also wanted to start developing this as soon as possible. So we gave them some dummy layouts, like what all area, how the placement will be, how certain things will collapse and expand and stuff like that. We gave it in Figma just for the layout purpose. And once we did that, we then further proceeded into other cases. And if you want to specifically build a certain design and you already have something in mind, in this case I had a card design for this mission planner list. So the list that you see here, okay, one second. So the list card that you see here, what data it should have, and how the hierarchy that it should have the data in, what will make sense to the user and everything. So now I'm feeding that to the LLM in this manner. So must have in the card design is this, and these are something that you could have, like these are not must have, but these are something that you could have, and some of the actions that we need to have is this many things. And now I just tell it to brainstorm the design. So now it gives me some things, and then I further cut it down into like, so this might not work, this is out of scope. Sometimes it will also give something that you actually don't want. It will go out of the way and bring some other elements in, so you need to carefully curate it, like, or have that patience to read through everything and okay, so this is faulty, this is something that you are doing wrong, can you change it in this manner. So as you keep ideating, then once you are very satisfied with the results that the ASCII layouts gave or the ideation that you built, then you could tell it to build a UI in this manner. So here this is kind of like exactly how it looks, but I just fine tuned it more in Figma with my design because we wanted the better design. Obviously, I hope the design is better. I'll show that in Figma. It looks better there. So that's one thing.
How many of you use artifacts here, by the way? Claude artifacts?
very few.
Yeah, you guys should leverage that. That is like the easiest way to prototype something. It's like you don't need to go to Lovable and make an entire generation of this, curate, all that. If Claude has even a little bit context, it will make it into like it's like such a fast way to do this one. It's just HTML code. It is not something very. It doesn't do the structure and everything and all. But just for a prototype, just to show some stakeholders, just to say that okay, this is the case, this is how the interactions work and everything. It is like an absolute mastermind. So Claude artifacts is what they call their prototype creations. Like, so whenever you ask it to create a specific artifact, it will go into the code mode, kind of write down all this code, and you could preview it right there. So it will also be interactable.
It's like an interactive blueprint for you.
It's like Lovable, but without any proper structure of code or anything. It's just a single HTML kind of stuff.
Also, I saw in Claude you are adding some PDF files that
Yes.
give context.
Yeah. So that is where that is the context that we feed. So we can also share as PDF, or you can share the copy of that PDF. Like this is the entire PDF that we created for this. So and there is so many other specific things like it needs to have, and we will also keep adding context whenever we realize that it might not have the context of this. So when we are going to talk about a certain topic, then we will also see if it already has that context. If it doesn't, we will create that context and give it to it.
So the context in the chat, you have the add file. You add context to a particular chat to those files, and then you start the chat.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need to start it in a chat. Since we already have it in a project, this knowledge base exists for that purpose. So this will keep reusing the same context again and again. If you want a specific chat to only have a certain context, then you can feed it in the PDF format or something within that chat. Yeah, and yeah, so once we do that, then we kind of go to the Figma, also kind of do the design there, like side by side. So we can also do everything. So this specific design that we are giving, this is something that the developer is going to develop side by side. So once that card design was figured out, the mission list page was done, then the developers take it out to the production. The main thing is Figma MCP here, because that was a game changer why we kind of stuck with this flow. I will explain that Figma MCP part later. So basically this Figma file that the developers have, what they need to do is they just need to copy the link of it. They could just put it in Claude Code or Cursor or any other tool, and then they could say this is the UI I want, and if they can even specify the functionality that it needs to have, and it will build it exactly how it is. The limitation is that you need to go slow, as in smaller components than the entire page. So if you have an entire page of Figma, you can't just give it directly with all its complexity to build it to Claude Code or anything, because then the entire JSON script that it had, it wouldn't parse it like properly. So when you have smaller widgets or smaller site panels and stuff like that, then you can give it to make it, and it will make it way better. However small that element is or the component is, it will build it better. I will show that this one to you guys later. And now oh shit. Okay, so this is another chat that we built. So from this as well, we extracted the map interactions, and we also tried to get a code out of it from Gemini itself. Like it gave us some code that we can use, and then see how the map interactions will kind of work. And what we basically did was we gave that code here, and we told it what you can actually understand from this code, because we need to finally make a document out of it which everyone can understand and use with their LLMs as well. So now this will be like the source of truth, right, for all the map interactions that we have in this mission planning app. So what we did, we asked for it what you actually understand from it, and then it gave us a list of what it actually understands. But yeah, it doesn't. Sometimes it just goes off way. So it tried to build everything in with all the context that it had, but then we had to direct it in a way. No, just focus on these things. And as we kept going, then we kind of kept directing it in a way. The designer's main thing is that you guys are the actual decision makers. So you can't just let the LLM decide everything for you, because it actually doesn't decide anything. It just goes to we'll build all these 10 features, we'll build all these 20 features, and you will have all of that in the Lovable if you just let it do all the work. So you need to kind of curate it in a way that, okay, this is what we actually need, this is what the documentation purpose is for, what we are going to be building, and what we are actually going to be using. And as the chat structure goes on, we need to clearly define the keyboard interactions, keys for the design, and stuff like that. Now this is a very important part in development as well, and it gave us a lot of things which were not actually in the code. So you kind of actually have to read through this and then say, okay, I think there are some differences between the code that I had shared and the keyboard shortcut. So you have to kind of be, yeah. So you have to keep curating it, and we also gave it some visual to kind of understand what we are going to be talking here and explaining that in a manner. And as you saw, the prompt generator, we told it to act as a prompt generator for Lovable, and then we got the chunk by chunk prompting for this particular simulator, and we put that into Lovable and made this simulator. So this is the drone. I'm moving the drone, and then I'm dropping a particular waypoint. I'm moving the angle that it looks in. I'm increasing the altitude of the drone. I'm decreasing. Everything is done by keyboard. And now this is the interaction pattern that any team in FlytBase could use as reference. Now you could also use it in mouse click. Now these are the interaction you could see in the similar UI in the mission planning panel. So what is a selected state, what is an edit state, what actually happens when you press and add some certain things. Now everything is kind of contained in this single simulator. So anyone in our from PM to the testers could use this to validate exactly how it should actually work in the production app. So this was made very easy. The hardest part was fixing on a certain flow which the user will use, and the advantage that these helped us in is the iteration process. We kept so many iterations in this manner. So okay, one second. Yeah, so we also built that simulator in Claude artifacts. Then we went to the Lovable, this one. So we kind of said, we kept reiterating on the Claude artifacts, so it was easier for us to develop, right? It was very fast, it made all the maps. Yes, that's yeah.
If you can show them Figma MCP demo, then it is possible.
Right in. Okay, so as you guys saw, the entire design was kind of made like this. We made a less number of screens because we ignored all this map interaction craziness with the simulator, and we just made whatever was necessary, some of the few flows that were necessary, and some of the components that we have. Now the developers could just go to this and then kind of copy that specific element. This is the component, so in this case they could just copy link to selection and then paste it in their IDE or the one which has the MCP, this one. So this is just a guide from Figma itself to how to actually enable this one. You just go to the preferences. You have to use the Figma desktop for it, not the browser. Desktop needs to have that access to the local this one. So once you set the enable dev mode, you will see that it is active with this kind of tooltip like a snack bar, and then you know that it is ready, and all you need to do is set up your client in Claude Code, Windsurf, VS Code, or anything. So if you go to Claude Code, it is just this single line that you need to kind of copy and paste, and it will automatically add this Figma MCP for you guys. And then all you will basically need is to go to Claude Code and so all you then need to do is go to Claude Code and basically paste this Figma link and then type what you exactly need. So in this particular component, how you need this particular component to be built in and where this particular component needs to be built in. For example, you could specify the directory that it is going to go, and this might look like a lot of developer stuff, why should I do that or stuff like that, but you guys could just experiment that or you could tell your developers, fellow developers in your company to basically use this Figma MCP. It cuts down their work by crazy amount of time that they will be very happy with what you have suggested them. So that is one of it. You will get some demos in YouTube as well, or you could also check out my previous session AI in action in YouTube channel of FlytBase. I have done a complete session on just how to use that MCP within Claude itself. So you could also use it from Claude desktop itself. You could add so basically this Claude, yeah, okay, it's I will go to this Claude. You need to have the desktop app for it. Yeah, so Figma developer MCP is there. You could just toggle it on, and the configuration is fairly simple. If it is you guys use Claude, you guys go to Claude. Yeah, so there is just an MCP log file that you need to configure, and this is where you actually give the link to it, the Figma API. And if you already use an IDE like Cloud Code, then it is not even necessary if you have the Figma setup in your local this one. So that is it about this. Did I leave anything, guys? Yeah. You guys can ask me any questions. So
Where is the Figma design system?
yeah, let me show that. Design system that we made. Yeah, we'll go back to the file. Do you need the log of the design system, or do you just need a?
How do you generally give a design system to Figma?
Use the design system in Figma? So
Or
we.
when it was designing, did you give a design system to it, or Figma generated the design system? How does it work?
Oh, Figma, okay, you can use some other templates or any other thing that is openly available as a design system, but we curated this specific design system just for ourselves and the products that is going to come up. So this is the entire this one, and we also had to, since we also need to make a very detailed documentation of it, and at the end of the day, we will explain that in the hacks, where we kind of gave all this context to the LLM, and then what it did was it generated a very philosophical manner. It generated this is how the FlytBase team designs, and this is how I will try to design, kind of like that. So that is another document that we fed to Claude or any other LLM that we use whenever we build this. So I hope that will help. Yes. So you can use Bark, which is like a agentic development environment as well. You could just launch Cloud Code here. Yeah. Yeah. Which one? I can show that. I will have to search that. I will show that to you guys as a hack. I haven't set it up. I will set it up. Yeah. So do you guys have any doubts on how this project was approached, why we did take this decision, why we went in this way? Is there any doubts that you guys have, particularly in the process that I had? Yeah.
Well, this was good. So, can you please summarize for us? Like, there are different tools which were used, like Claude, then Google AI Studio, then also Figma, also and then Web. So, let's say a new requirement comes in, and like, what is exactly the sequence in which we need to go about it, and which tools are the best? Let's say for Figma and say UI development, there are say like 5-6 AI tools present. So which one would be the best to use, and what's the sequence that we should go with?
Okay, so I was using Gemini for context building. So how to feed the context to Gemini first with the video recordings, because that was like a hack to me, and it cut shorted my time by a lot. And because of that, I created some documents there, and then I put it into Claude's projects. So that is where I kind of kickstarted the project flow. And then in Claude, you ideate on the wireframes and everything. And now the wireframes need to be reflected, right? The final wireframe, I mean. So you build some artifacts to test the prototype, like kind of how it works and everything. And then you go to Lovable with the prompts that you built in Claude, and then Lovable gives you the prototype that you need. So this prototype can be used in a multiple manner. For this project, we particularly use it for testing purposes and just clarity within our team, all the teams combined in FlytBase. And now, since we have built that, we are also building the documentation of the final design that we got from Claude. So that is a documentation that will be like the source of truth for all the other teams as well. They could use it in their own LLMs, which will benefit everyone. There won't be any back and forth from the developers to the designers. They won't bother us anymore. We'll be working on new projects. So that is one thing there. And from then, basically, we already designed the things that we actually need in Figma, right? So all the components, everything is in Figma. Now this Figma needs to be developed. Now how the developers develop the Figma design is with the Figma MCP. And what they basically used was Claude Code. So Claude Code is very good, and I feel like that is the best development tool compared to all the others. People might have some different opinions, but I feel like the major opinion is that the Claude Code is the best right now, especially because of their models being very good at not making any errors and strictly following what it needs to follow. So that is the entire flow. And
Also share the toolkit on the group, we share it.
yeah.
Like in this process, this is what we use, and this tool we use for say brainstorming, this for UI solution, we share all of that also.
Like just adding on, like if you have to templatize this, right? So basically you can use any tool to brainstorm. That is the brainstorming thing. Like as soon as we brainstorm paper, right? So like replace it with Claude or ChatGPT, and after that you need to get some visual clarity. Like you need to see some visual to understand this is how the app will look, right? So for that we have found out that Lovable is the best tool. Like there are tons of tools, like 15-20 tools, but in terms of UI decision making, I think Lovable is better. We do that, and after that, if the product is complex, then we have the clarity. We then replicate those things, designs with our design system in Figma, but very limited screens, and we have the interactions in Lovable, not with the design system, but the developers can understand. Now with those limited screens, developers are ready to use Figma MCP with their preferred IDE tools, Claude Code, Figma, whatever they want to use, and they can then make it to production. That is the work.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, there are tons of tools. Like, which tool is the best?
So
and that conclusion is really
so that is the main thing is that it might change the next day. It might change 2 days after someone could
but
figure.
At least kind of as of now, like based on your explorations.
Yeah. So that is what I just told you. But the thing is, yeah. It just
Claude Code is the best, and for brainstorming figured out. In the next demo, I will show. For brainstorming, we use Grok right now, and like to get the prompts, we use Claude. I will tell you the detailed reasoning why you use that workflow in the next demo, but you will get the idea.
Yeah, we kind of want the best of the best, right? So it is not all at the same place. At least not as of now. It might be in the future.
Yes, thanks. Just one thing, like a Claude artifact was better than Lovable for something.
Okay, so no, not really. Like it's just like it is a quick way to prototype. It doesn't actually solve any production grade or any staging level
For
stuff.
production, Lovable is better.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Claude
Yeah, because artifacts is just HTML code that is just like that is not of much use. It is just for our purpose to interact with it and kind of
It can't make bigger dashboards.
Yeah.
Like, it has a limitation in terms of
The chat actually exhausts if you make it very big. So
Right.
you need to know when to stop.
Thanks.
I can add to that. For Claude, artifact is good for product managers when they want to design something and tell it to designer. Right? That suppose there's a complex mathematical calculation or something there, right? You're working on certain aspects, and like in our scenario, when we fly drones or have very complex workflows of drones, it's sometimes very difficult to communicate, right, what exactly it would work. So then the product managers specifically then use Claude artifacts, so they can give the sliders and everything that how should the data represented instead of just giving in the words. I think we covered that in one of the product management sessions that we did. So yeah.
The major thing is that you guys should always keep exploring any other tool that comes up. Someone could just say like, okay, this might be the best. You could just like try it out. You go to the trial version, check it out. If it actually works, then like experiment on it. Maybe if it actually deems worthy, then you could suggest it and get a premium for it, and then go on from there. That is how we do it.
Excuse me.
Time check also.
Yeah.
So instead of opening multiple tabs, can you just use plugin or something on Figma directly? Like if like Lovable has a plugin or something, then you can directly open on one single tab instead of opening multiple tabs, right? Every single morning you open up your computer and then open multiple tabs, Claude, Gemini, this and that, and instead of you can use plugin, right? So do you use plugin as Figma plugin?
Figma plugins.
We haven't found any plugin
which can actually, yeah.
For now,
It is not that we even if we tried it, I did not see any actual use of it. As in, it wasn't as productive as this. That is why. I don't know if that answered your question.
If we use plugins, even we have created our own.
Yeah, we have created our own. That is one of the guys. Yeah, that's it, guy.
So when you are brainstorming with Claude, so suppose after some time you are freezing something, and after you have freeze that thing, you are continuing iterating on other things. Did you face a problem that it forgets those things after, because you are iterating so many things?
Okay.
And the problem that it will forget things that you wanted to freeze.
Okay, so whenever I freeze something, if it is actually valuable and it is going to be reused in the other chats, then what I will do, I will just copy that and paste it as a context again within that project. So something that I got output of midway or somewhere, which I'm going to keep reusing in other chats, then I will just copy and paste that in the knowledge base itself, so that it understands that this is something that you always need to look into.
You can use it even in the same chat.
Yeah.
If you have used it, just go back, add it in the product knowledge, so that the next prompt that you put, it follows that thing. The key decisions you keep on adding it to the product knowledge, so that it never forgets.
So you iteratively add to the knowledge base.
Yes. Any other questions?
Here you have FlytBase as one big project and sub projects within it, or whenever you do a customization, that becomes a project. Okay. Because you have one product which is called as FlytBase, right? Which all the context is being given. So to maintain the context, you have one big project where all files and PDFs are submitted, and then within that there is sub-project.
Yeah, so one thing is that there is actually a lot of context involved, and even sometimes the project doesn't have that much capacity to hold that knowledge base as well. So that is one of the limitations that we had. But what we actually do is we have those documentation separately, and whenever we are going to start a project, we only feed it the relevant PDFs or knowledge base that it actually needs. For example, this mission planning needed some site specific thing which is kind of global and across all the other FlytBase dashboards. So we also fed that context and how we previously designed or how the previous flow was in mission planning. So it already has some amount of context. So we don't give it all the data, because whenever you give so much data, it starts hallucinating or it checks out some unnecessary things that is not involved for that particular project. So we keep it isolated like that. What is necessary, we feed it, but we have those sources separately within us. Yes.
Now one more question. They run on tokens, right? So your tokens can get exhausted if you feed too many context. Is that also considered as the token, or only the chat is considered?
No, the basically context, I feel it is not taking that as much of a token consumption, but whenever it is giving an output, right, how big that output is, if it is using an artifact for that manner, or if the chat is getting too exhaustive, as in how much ever output it gives, that is how the token is based on. But for Gemini, what it does basically, it also, so these videos, right, these videos are basically very large, and it takes like 70,000 tokens, 100,000 tokens as well in some scenarios if the video is as long. So these video transcription and stuff like that, this is only possible because these guys have a token limit of like 1 million. So you have to kind of know which tool to use when, and you can keep that part of your hacks or something like that, and then you need to kind of, okay, this is something that I need to do. I need to build context with some videos. I will go to Gemini. Now I'll get that context. Then with that context, where should I feed it? Claude, because it does the brainstorming and everything way better than what it does in Gemini. Stuff like that. So yes.
Thank you. Sorry.
You can continue the questions. Just have, like, take your breakfast from here. Just have it
You can take your break.
Yeah, it would be more friendly.
So you mentioned that you did not design all the screens in Figma, whereas your developers are using Figma as an input for development. Right? So how that was?
Okay, so the development phase involved these map interactions, right? That is what we kind of cut short into. So if we are traditionally designing, yeah, I would have to also give them the specific map interactions, how it is supposed to work. But now all those interactions, I've completely ignored that in Figma, and I'm giving that in the simulator. So in the simulator, if they play with it, they will know where to. So the developer was working in the backend for this, for the map integration, and they will basically configure all those things there itself. So they actually did not need a Figma for that in that manner, because they had the simulator and all the documentation is relevant to it. So they were feeding their LLM those map interaction documentation, how the simulator works and everything. So it was easier for them to develop in that manner. So that was not particularly needed for that Figma design. So whenever it is needed, wherever if it is a component, then we give that component properly in Figma. At least that is what we did for this. So whatever components that we built in this planning app, it is going to be also used in some other apps. So we needed the design to be very proper. So that is why we spent a lot of time in designing for within Figma as well. So once you can do it, you can reuse some other elements again and again. Yes.
Just take it and then CBC it back and start with the next demo.
You mentioned about Figma MCP, so like, how well does it work? Like if you give the link of the entire Figma thing, will it like generate the code? Like you will get the same output you see on the Figma in the code like this. So how is that will give that?
Okay, so whenever you feed an entire screen, or whenever you feed a lot of screens as a section or something, it doesn't actually develop it properly, because it has so much context of that screen. There is so much data within it. There is so much functionality it also needs to implement. It will try to implement it. The problem is that the design and the functionalities will not be accurate. So if we need to build something in with Figma MCP, then I would tell to go with component wise first, build all those components that is necessary. For example, in this case, the mission card that we created in Figma, now the developer will, what they should actually do is get this first card design into the as code, and once they build all these specific components, then they could stitch it together with the whole screen. So then they could input that screen and then say, okay, these are the components that you have already built. Now put this in this order. So now it is even easier for the LLM, because it has already done all this stuff. So it will refer to that specific directory, specific component, and it will reuse that component accordingly. So it is a step-by-step process. Don't like expect it to one-shot every design to code like that. So there is a yeah.
You can talk.
No. Hallucination.
So I had one question. In some situations, you have a page and you just need to improvise it. Not the whole page, but to add some functionalities, or for that functionality you should have some UI for it. And in the Figma design, you have it. But through MCP, what's your approach to make changes in the existing code? Because when I tried it, it replicated the existing code and then made changes to it first thing. Then it just made whole UI enhanced and all. So it made it look like our So it's just difficult to it was difficult for me to just improvise it. So what's your approach?
You're talking about production code or just for the visual code?
Yeah, as a development environment, in development
Okay,
environment.
I think Abhishek can answer better. Like we have our dashboard and
There's a guy who developed.
We build on top of things, right?
Yeah.
It is not that we build a separate dashboard always. So I think he can answer better. Abhishek, give him the mic.
Hi, basically, the thing what I understood from your question is that you already have a dashboard that has an already established design system, and then you try to use the MCP to create one more component or something like that, and it generates.
So how do you value generate the design system?
I never generated.
But you made that implementation guidelines and stuff like that. Yeah.
That I did on my own. I didn't. I did in Claude or something.
Yeah, but where is that? Because I don't know where it is.
We don't use mine. No. That document is used. You can show just for the sake of it.
So I also face these problems. So it's basically like it will recreate all the existing reusable templates. So yeah, with the core thing about using Figma MCP is that it's not just about the Figma link and all. It's more about what additional context that you give about your own code base. Since that MCP does not have your code base access, you will have to explicitly tell it that I do have these parts of the component that we already have. And when you give them the names of those components, it will basically try to link it with the existing code and then give you an output that is basically using the same user. So in the cursor, the command when you tell exactly that build this component, just along with that give an textual prompt further explaining what way.
I'm more hallucinating than them.
And for the better design system, you can also have particular docs that refer to the design system. So yeah, we did
I realized that.
this mission planning. So we had a document where we added all the design system components, and it would always refer to that document before creating it. So it would know, okay, I have these 10 components to build over. Yeah, kind of cursor or what to do anything, whatever tool you use, you just add in the rules that we have a component list and all this effort.
Okay guys, so I think we'll start with the next presentation and the last project that we have to show. After that we have a hack session and then we can proceed ahead with the Q&A. You can ask any one of us after that. So I think everybody got the breakfast and celebration completed right now. Okay. Shall I start? Okay, I'm just showing my skill issue right now because by this time this project came to me. I had lost all my control over Figma. I was not able to make auto layouts or make any design using Figma. And the problem with Civil's approach was he had to submit this long of a Figma file. Like if you see, and like I did not have the patience to do and replicate all the screens and make all these things. So I was like, I want to give a prototype, like which looks closer to the Figma and it has that level of complexity as well. So basically, I will show you the dashboard that I made. So I cut down the Figma file to this, just this, and I will show you the complexity of the dashboard and how many interaction states it has. And typically, it would have taken me like almost 3 to 4 Figma pages if I did to hand off the design. So this is the dashboard. I won't give you the context on what it is about, but just by layout you'll understand it is fairly unique. It is not like you will get it easily and Lovable or any other tool can easily pull off. So it has all the states that it works as a production grade interaction states. Like everything is in our design system, even the states, even the logic, even the data that we get is very grounded to FlytBase context. Nothing is like AI generated or hallucinated context. Even I know for this card, when I click on this card, I need to show this data. I need to show video and images. So all these things are grounded. If I show annotation, I don't have the image or the second video. I just have one video. So all these things are grounded so that the communication with the developer is very easy. Now they can't use this code because the quality of the code is not that great. It is a buggy code and they can't take it, but they will understand all the states that are necessary. So as soon as I press on click, this panel pops up. Here you have all the states and all the interactions. You can drag it, you can play the video and stuff. If you want, you can add a flag to the video and the flag will be added. You get a toaster. All those things are segregated in this prototype and everything is made using Lovable in a single chat, not like I switch to some other thing. Even if you want, you can start incidents. All the states are there. Like it started recording, the pop-up, how should it look, and stuff. And even the interaction state. Now the interaction state are so complicated between all these components that they need to be in sync. Now when I click on the map interaction, it should highlight on the timeline. It should directly click on the card, and it should also change this card. So all those things were created. Now to do this in Figma, it would have taken me hundreds of screens just to show these states, right? And developers need all the clarity in terms of when I click this, what should happen? Like the timeline should move, this should move, that should move. So I wanted to simulate this and everything in Lovable. And this was the Figma file I gave, where now for the MCP to work, you need some layout, right? So for that purpose, I converted it into Figma file. Other than that, this prototype is sufficient for them to start developing with all the states. I will show you the workflow on a high level and the kind of tools that we use. The thought process is similar, the way I told you about chunking, right? You just divide it. Now for this, the division is quite similar. The division is this: left panel, timeline component, map component, detail card, video card. So I brainstormed with Claude in the project knowledge. If you see, I brainstormed the layout. Like, it took a lot of effort to reach here. Now I know the flight data panel will be here, the video panel will be here, the map will be here, timeline will be here. Now it is easier for me to pick one component and brainstorm about it. So in the next step, what I'm doing is I'm just taking one component and I'm trying to map out all the states of the timeline, like how the timeline will work, if it is single flight, double flight, how the clustering of the icons will look like. All those things were simulated here. One component was targeted so that it is not a cognitive load for a designer as well to think about all the dashboard layout at once, just specific components, map out those cases, document those things, and then all those pieces when come together brings out the dashboard that we want. So for that thing to happen, right, the production grade where the design system is followed and all the states are mentioned, the design needs to have clarity, because if the design does not have the clarity, the LLM will hallucinate and you will never reach the output that I showed you. Like, you will never be able to get level to the stage where all the states are working fine, the UI is fine. It will mess up after 4-5 months or after a stage, and it is very complicated. Map is integrated, even map interactions are working. So for that, design needs to build clarity, and it is the prototype. Now all these dashboards are also made using Lovable, but you can see the UI difference and how it looks, right? But this was made just for my clarity, like how the layouts will be. I made a lot of prototypes just to understand the different use cases, different scenarios, and by this point I knew each and everything that is required. Like, if I close the panel, how the interaction will be. If I close this alert panel, how the interaction will be. If I click on this, what will be the data and stuff. These things help me get clarity and helps me to build the final product. Now the important thing and the most valuable thing, now I'm introducing Grok to you. Like, before, like Claude 4, we used to use Claude for entire thing, like Sonnet 4. But right now, what we are doing is we are using Grok for brainstorming. I will tell you the reasoning. Why not ChatGPT, why not Claude, and why specifically Grok. So here, what I did is I started very rough, and what I told Grok is, we'll pick up one component, we'll brainstorm about it, each and every edge case, each and every thing rounded to its core, and then we'll document for each component. Document the details for each component. So I will show you one document that I created for the event and details panel. So this is map component, right? So everything is covered, like every interaction, what will be the metadata, if I click on polygon, what will happen, even the interaction zoom, pan, how I want it, how much the zoom should be, everything is very grounded in text. Now this takes a lot of patience, and this is the most valuable thing. Making the prototype in Lovable is the easiest part, but chatting and grounding it, understanding and orchestrating all the context and getting the documents out is a major skill that is required. And once you get all these documents right, it is fairly big, and this is the major reason why we use Grok. So what Claude does not do it, but what ChatGPT does is it tries to limit the output. If I ask it a specific thing, what will it do? It will try to summarize that and give it a smaller output. But as designers, we need each and every detail, and you want the output to be big. Like, the document should be used with all the edge cases, all the things covered. Now Grok is better in that. Even for a single prompt, it maps out all the edge cases and it gives a large output. It does not try to constrain the token limit and give us smaller text output. That is why we prefer Grok, and it is very user friendly in terms of the language it uses compared to Claude. Claude uses very dev friendly language, and it tries to unnecessary code things rather than think about user, think from user shoes. So that is why we chose Claude, and the documents are fairly huge. Even for small prompts, it gives very huge outputs and it is easier to brainstorm then. After this, what I did was I took all the documents, each and every component documents. The components are basically this, like the timeline component. It has all the states, map component all the states, video component all the states. I took all the components, I used those things, as a project knowledge in Claude. Now Claude will not follow anything rather than what Grok has given to him. Like all the context is very grounded. The Claude, I have dumbed down Claude to just follow what I'm saying rather than that the job is not to do anything else. So the chats are also fairly basic, and even here we have prompted the design system prompt so that whatever prompts Claude gives, it is with our design system colors and stuff. That is why the output that I got was in our design system. The colors were the button, the sizing was very grounded to FlytBase design system. One more major thing, why use Claude and not Grok? Now you can question that I could have used Grok because I have all the documents right in Grok. I could have pasted the prompt that act as a prompt generator for Lovable and give it to me. The problem is both ChatGPT and Grok are not that good in terms of communicating interactions, communicating about software. Like Claude is very fine-tuned for coding, right? So it is fine-tuned for making softwares. So it is very great in terms of prompting those things, mapping out edge cases, communicating how the panel should be, how the interaction should be. For that purpose, I had to get all the context in Claude so that the prompts that I get are very fine-tuned and very detailed. And then the job is fairly easy, that you just put all the prompts in Lovable and you get the output that I showed you. Now the problem is, now I am ready with this prototype, but now developers can't do shit with this mess. What will they do? They will have to replicate. They don't have any Figma to refer to. Even the Figma MCP can't work, right? So we were like, we need a way where we can convert this into Figma, and it should follow our design system styles and guide, and that's where Sanjog came in. And I will invite him to present the next workflow, like how to get this thing into Figma now, so that we can initiate Figma MCP. So he actually is an ex-flighter. He just interned with us and did incredible things.
Yeah. So hi guys. Basically, the problem statement was converting your Lovable or any AI design into Figma design, which the developers can use, because it is the code quality which Lovable or any other tool produces is not great for developers to use. So the thing they we thought of doing is, we get every time you use a AI tool, it gives you a URL of the design you made. So you take that URL and you get into Figma. So everyone knows this plugin HTML to design. It basically just converts your URL into a design, and we'll get it here. But the problem is, all the effort we took to make Lovable follow our design system, it won't have those things which we have here. So all the styles which we have in our library here, it won't be there. So for example, the fonts, I'll just choose this. Yes. Yeah. So after we have gotten the design from Lovable, so now this is, for example, a design, and if you look into it, it will not have things like all the colors. They will be just hex codes, and this is not ready for production because we need the styles for developers to use it. So here is what we made a plugin. So what it does is, so this plugin was made using just cursor and stuff, and what it does is, it analyzes the color styles into this design, and once it does, it takes all the design styles which we have in our file and applies it to this specific frame. So you can view, did you see some changes happening here? It was fast. So basically, now if you click on anything, all the things which had random hex codes, now all are styles. Everything has all the fonts, etc. All those things are exactly our font styles, our design styles. So now we can continue and edit this design, and it has all our styles. So that is the basic plugin. And then you can convert your AI design into Figma and then move forward, make changes here, and then give this to developers.
The plugin is free or you created?
I created it, but it's free it's on the store. So Figma, you can just search Harmony. It's here up.
on the Figma store it is.
Yeah, if you search in your plugins, it will be here. I can just show you. So this is the plugin. Basically what it does is it will apply your design system to a AI design. Yes.
Like the question was right, you need to fine tune few things in Figma. Even if I create something in Lovable, right, I'm not happy with that. I need to change a few things. I need to add some better UI elements. Now this gives the ability that you can take a prototype, convert it into auto layout Figma screen, and then you can change anything you want. Now the problem was we had to manually go and apply all the styles. So with the plugin that Sanjog made, we are able to apply similar or closer styles from our design system. Now even if the styles is not closer, right, it is easier for us to just click and change the style to what we want. So it makes the process very faster. Now with this single screen, developers are enabled to take this screen into Figma MCP. They can develop it, and now they have all the interactions to refer from my prototype that I created. So the Figma effort is reduced a lot. So if you assume that most of our time goes into creating the Figma screen, even if you have the clarity, communicating that if I click on the filter, this is how the pop-up will look. Like that is such a dumb work to do, and so many screens we had to make. So we are replicating that effort. Like
The design system is maintained in Figma.
yeah. We also have it outside, like for IDs to follow, and it is published as well for anybody to use. But for designers, it is in Figma. But if you want to use it in Cursor or using Cloud, we have MD files for that. We have different components.
So you export it from Figma into an MD
We
file?
have converted the Figma design system into code already. So we can use that library anytime we want.
As part of the MD rules in any of the...
But the problem is using those components, whatever tools we are using, right, Claude and stuff, they are not able to produce better UI. That is why we are using Lovable, which does not have the design system, just for the sake that it has better UI UX. Other than that, if we are able to control Claude or Cursor in a way where the UI is proper, then we can get the front-end code directly rather than doing all this work as well.
Yeah, and this step will soon be eliminated also, because all these tools, so Lovable has already released libraries feature in beta, and all the other like tools will also include libraries. So design system would be ideally followed in few months down the line. So that also you won't need to do yourself.
I think that's it from my side. One hack we will show you on how we created the prompt. So basically, why we created the prompt is, even if you give all the components and styles to any element, right? Now if I tell primary 200, primary 100, primary this, error colors are this. Now the LLM does not know what color to use where. So for that we created the prompt so that you have the color system, but where to use it? Like what does the background level 1 color be using it? So we will tell you how we came up with that prompt, how we use our Figma design system to help us with that.
The Figma design system is maintained as an MD root in all the other LLMs as an MD root.
That is the prompt, but we also have the library for it.
And do you move MD, is one common MD rule everyone, or you move MD rules?
No, it is common. Means it is not by default, we have to add it.
Right, so we already had the design system built in Figma. Now everything needs to be properly documented, right? And we also need it in a way that the LLMs could use it to actually produce code. Like it should be, the style should be there, the tailwind styles and everything. That I'm not going to the depths of development, but
See, we just show Figma them so they understand how we created documents in Figma.
that isn't that well. So the case is, I ferret some of the designs that we previously already had, which was designed like basically this group of products that we have, and how the design is basically for it. So from the shadows, when to use the background, level 1, level 2, level 3 and stuff like that. I fed it as a set of designs that we had actually created for our FlytBase specific dashboard, and I told it to analyze it, and I told it to make a kind of detailed list of like the tokens and stuff like that. So now in the Figma designs, I had all these components, right? So these component specific things, I just listed out from the Figma to this like these are the components that we actually have, and how do we actually kind of use these colors or anything within this manner. So it kind of gives us the detail for it. And now based on the discussion, I tell it to give a tailwind config file. So this is the file that we are actually using in V0 or any other platform, so that it follows the consistent style for that particular, for a primary button, then it will use primary 200 or stuff like that. That is how it basically uses it. And then as it goes, it just keeps, we just keep iterating on it. And if I was like verifying if I upload this directly, then will it take it and stuff like that. Then I generated a document in that manner, which will basically be useful for that score. So as we kept and iterating, what we need is, we kind of need a way for the LLM to know how we actually design, so that it also designs in that specific manner. So if I'm someone who uses the card layout in this manner and I'm using level 1 for it, then for the next element inside it, I'll use level 2. So it needs to understand that it needs to go by that order whenever it has more layers stacked on one thing. So each of these stuff, you keep iterating on this, and you will arrive at a documentation. Now this documentation, you have to keep iterating on it. Now in this one, I just ended with a scheme, and then I pasted this again on another chat within this design system of the FB, and now I keep iterating on it. Based on the analysis, you make the changes and everything. You see the guidelines, what it needs to actually follow and everything. Now you will rewrite it in a manner that this will be like the source of truth for that specific LLM to follow these guidelines. Like, these are the guidelines that you strictly need to follow. For button components, you need to use this. For typography, you need to use this. So as you go down, this is kind of the documentation that we arrived at. For these primary colors, you need to use this. Secondary colors, you need to use this. And when you need to use these status colors, for example, if it is success, then you need to use this. Error, you need to use this. Caution, warning, you need to use these colors. And all these things, you will basically, it will already list it down according to your specification. You have to curate it in a manner that it consists of everything that you have created in the design system, and you kind of need to verify it one by one. Now this also has some component level, so that when you feed it, that LLM already understands that some components are built in this manner, and this is how I'm using this color palette, or how I should use that. So with something like this, then you can also feed this to the LLM. This is also something that we share with every other project that we have in our design system, so that it knows like this is how you guys are designing. So when you give it to the code builder like Claude Code or something as a specific document, then it will keep checking whether it is using it in that specific format. So even without the need of always having a designer, they could kind of get the idea of how to design. Yeah, that's the next process, but yeah. So that is one. Then basically this is another one. These UX analysis and stuff like that, that will be a very big key to how you guys use these LLMs, right? So this is one of the designs that the developer shared with us, but he wanted some ideas on how the UI and how the UX should basically work. He just made a small icon, but the user flow and everything was kind of subpar, and I didn't want to take entire time of mine to like kind of curate every single thing. So I just fed this entire video to this, and like I said, analyze the user experience of this, and then in this case, what can we actually change? First, create the documentation of what we actually see here, like the features that it has. Once it created that, then we were like, then I went on to say like, okay, so from this analysis, what can we actually improve? Like, everything was contained in a single button for him, and there was so many sub user flows that were hiding. So we kind of wanted to bring that out, and this LLM just did that, all with a video that the designer fed for us as a like a feedback, give us feedback. So we built everything. Then I got some prompt, and I actually also built this in Lovable and gave it to him back, all within like 1 hour span, and he changed the development accordingly. So it was that easy. So analysis and stuff like that, you guys could use these LLMs for that as well. Yeah.
So what we do is, we have a next session coming up. We'll just take Q&A inside. So all of us can go inside. We'll sit around and then we can have a chat just like that. Whatever questions you have, everything. And if anybody of you also want to share your own AI hacks or AI workflows that you're using, obviously we are free to discuss that as well.
Yep.
So can we just move inside? Thank you.